changed that one too. They can't get it back there. It's just plain gone. Doesn't care. So SMP, be careful of that.
Yeah, we have some soldiers, they join the Guard and they go to college and then they join the ROTC and SMP. Now, when they first joined the Guard, we established their ride days.
Right.
Now they've become SMP.
Doesn't change.
Okay, so they're still same ride date.
Same ride date as long as they're enlisted.
Now, if they decide to drop out of the ROTC program,
Still doesn't change.
but they get
Goes right on and they get credit for that time. You
But
know.
once they're commissioned, then it's
Once they're commissioned, they're gone. So it's gone, that period of time. They remain enlisted, no problem. They drop out of ROTC or don't accept the commission or whatever. Yeah.
I got a question, it's a little off subject here, but, say, you got these SFD guys and, or gals, whatever the case may be, and all heck breaks loose and you gotta activate people. How do they go? Do they go as enlisted or do they go as commissioned?
They don't go at all. If they have, and again, this depends, it's not a cut and dry thing, it's an individual case, but generally, they do not go because they're in an officer trainee program. Generally, but like I say, there are exceptions, and it's case by case. There's the possibility. So, SMP, that's another one of those weird things. Only the portion that he was SMP.
So if he becomes an officer, the time he was in the Guard still counts.
Still counts, yeah. It's only that period of time that he's SMP that gets thrown in. All right, so I've started a list of the weird things, the exceptions up here on the board that go with these rules. Okay. So SMP, the first thing we're going to look for, and you'll see how to do that later, how it comes into play later on. The next item is the delayed entry program. Now, this is not talking about the National Guard delayed entry program where we bring them into the National Guard, they attend so many drills, either 90 days or 180 days, whichever they qualify or however that works, and then go to their basic AIT. This is the delayed entry program where the soldiers enlist, like Sergeant Stevens' son enlisted in the Marine Corps. But he's still in high school, and he's delayed, I think his reporting date is the 3rd of July. That's the delayed entry program we're talking about. Well, for a lot of years, that started a retirement year because they were sworn into the reserve component of that organization and then sworn into the active component when they actually went. Well, reserve component starts retirement year, right? Well, what happened about 85? Anybody remember something? Thing that really affected the National Guard and all the military back then. Remember Graham Rudman, wheel study, big cutback in money. One of the things Congress looked at was this program, the delayed entry program. Here, those folks were earning membership points for doing absolutely nothing. They didn't go to drills, they didn't go anywhere or do anything. Now, that also started their longevity for pay. So Congress says, we're not paying these people for doing nothing. Well, I agree with you there. But they said, here's one place we're going to cut. So the rules changed 1 January 85. Prior to that, the retirement year began with the date of enlistment, DEP. Okay, on and following that, retirement year did not begin until they come off of active duty into the reserve component. See, there was no credit whatsoever now for that delayed entry program. Doesn't count for pay, doesn't count for retirement, can't earn membership points, nothing. So that's another one. If we see delayed entry program, well, that needs to trigger that there's something a little different about that one. And you gotta remember the magic date. Yep.
I have a guy, had delayed entry starting September '85, and had it for a whole year. No, actually had it for 6 months, but it continued through in January. Started in September '84, and continued through to like March '85.
The date of enlistment or sworn into, if he was sworn into it prior to 1 January '85,
That whole time counts.
that whole time counted, he earned 15 points membership if it was for a full year. Plus a year longevity on pay.
Right, that's how we figured it, but we were just questioning whether it stopped at 1 January '85.
It's the date, and if they enlist, and you'll find this in GR 688 too. They enlisted in the delayed entry program prior to 1 January '85. That started the retirement year. Go on to it. And it didn't drop off again at 1 January. So delayed entry program, another one of those weird things we got to look for. The next one is AUS. What's AUS? Army of the United States, draftee. Well, this one is another one that caused a few problems. For many, many years, the draftee was considered to be in a regular component. So did not need a retirement year, right? Regular component, didn't need them. So, the retirement year didn't start until they come off of active duty going into a reserve component, USAR. Well, 1 January '69, they finally figured out that, hey, that's not regular component. It is reserve component on active duty. Draftee was reserve component on active duty. So now, reserve component, retirement year starts the date they're sworn into the draft. If it's after, on or after 1 January '69. So AUS, that's another thing. You see it, it triggers something, you better look something up. AUS. And we still have those folks around. And the very last one is coming direct back into your unit from the ING. ING was a break in service. So the retirement year is going to start new the day they get back. First day back into the active guard.
That's what it is. The ING, you know, the IRR.
But the IRR, your records are active, and who was the first bunch of pillars for Desert Storm? Where did it come from? IRR. There you go. Here's them out there right now. Okay, so in retirement years now, we know that it's for reserve components. We know that once it starts, never going to change unless there's a break in service or the ING. And we know we've got several areas here that we've got to look at separate rules if they appear in the prior service. So if we keep those tucked away. Now, this does cause one thing. We have to understand what is active component and what's reserve component. 3-07.2 spells it out for us in blue book. All of the reserve components, the abbreviations will end in R, except two of them. Army National Guard and Air National Guard. And we've got 5 active components. The Army, the Air Force, Marine Corps, Navy, and Coast Guard. You got reserve components of all of those. Plus you've got the Air Guard, the Army Guard. All right, keeping those in mind, let's look at the easy way to figure a retirement year. First thing you have to do is set the service up and get this sheet out, and you can follow along with me and make notes, and we'll show you how easy it really is. Okay, on this thing, always set up all your service chronologically like this so you can see what's going on. You bring in a prior service soldier in your unit, you got a walking word problem, right? You gotta put it down chronologically so you can see what's going on. Once you do that, we kind of work in a circle, starting at the top left. First thing we do is come down this side and look for any of the weird stuff. If it's in there, we highlight it, and because it may cause us a problem. And the next, we come out the bottom. Once we get there, we start up looking for a break in service. Be very careful of one-day breaks. A break is a break. 1 day is a break. Okay, so we look from here to here. That's 15 December 76 to 16. No break there, is it? 18 October 75, 17 October 75. No break there, is it? Okay, we've come out the top. Now let's start down this side again. Where's the first reserve component service? Right there's our retirement year. Because once it's for reserve components, once it starts, it's never going to stop unless there's a break in service or IMG. Now be very careful. This is the retirement year is 18 October, 17 October, not 18 October, 19 October. That's only 2 days. Be very careful. It's easy to do. Or it's easy to write 18 October, 17 November. Be careful of that. All right, let's take a look at the next one. All right, we start down the left side. Any of that weird stuff? Nope. Nope. Let's look for break and service. From here to here?
No.
Oh. From here to here?
No.
From here to here?
Yes.
Yeah, big break. Draw a line right there and forget everything else. It's history. Where's our first reserve service now? There's our retirement year. You know what that is? Anytime you hit a break in service or ING, forget everything above it. It's history. It's on the record. Okay, let's look at number 3. Any of that weird stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah, right here's ING. What's that? Break in service. Forget everything else. Where's our retirement year? 15 December. Oh, that's easy. Okay, number 4. That's pretty simple. It can only be 15 December, 14 December. All right. Now, it's so easy. Somebody come up here and do this next one. Who wants to do that? You can handle it. Start down the left side, talk us through it.
Okay, no weird stuff.
No weird stuff.
There is no break in service. And the first reserve component is the beginning of the
Okay.
1 December to 30 November.
30 November. Boy, that was easy. You want to do the next one? Yeah. Start listening. Why don't you come up and talk us through the next one? Slide it over this little. There you go. All right.
Well, first, that's reserve, active, I guess you call it.
AUS.
Active, reserve there. Anyhow, the first, reserve component actually would be the USAR. So I guess we need to check our dates here now.
Well, the AUS should throw up a red flag. So when you get up there, check out your dates.
Before, I guess.
Check out your dates, because we got a break after that to do material.
Okay, before, 69, then. So
Okay.
date assigned, reserve after BD.
So, now when is this retirement year?
Well, I guess it's 19 September
Through what?
through 18 September.
All right, put it out there. break after that, well, it's not gonna count anyhow. Yeah.
So today US date was, after 69,
Then it would have been the date of AUS.
so we lost 2 months.
When did they get rid of? I knew somebody was gonna ask me that. So I just happened to have written it down, 1 July 1973. Draft head. Okay, who wants to do this next one? Somebody's farther on back.
41. 41. Right, why y'all always picking on my numbers?
Last yours is easy to remember.
Okay, let's go down the left-hand column and see if there's any strange occurrences there, which there doesn't seem to be. Then let's look for the breaks. 14 April 84 to 15, there's no break. 14 April 86 to 15 April 87, no break there. 8 December, so we start here fresh, 8 December 88 to 9 December 88, no break. His first reserve component after the break is right here, so his retirement year.
Wait a minute.
No.
What's USAF?
That's D, right underneath.
That's airport.
I'm sorry,
Yeah.
wrong.
It's easy to do. It's very easy to do.
First, so his retirement year begins when he came into the Guard, so it's 9 December through 8 December.
8 December, exactly right. All right.
Very good.
See, it is real easy to make a mistake too, because you gotta sort out what's reserved and what's not. All right, now the next type of problem will really screw you up if you don't complete it. For example, service and a soldier enlisted with the following prior service. Well, bring that down here or you may miss a break in service. April 89 to present. Okay, be sure and bring that down if you have a situation like that. So you got all the service right there. Okay, no break or no weird stuff. 17 and 16 and 69, no. How about that? Big break. So we forget all that. 20 marks. 19 marks. That's all there is to it. That's a lot easier than working off of that flip chart. And it'll work. The thing you have to do is keep in mind these changes in rules here. If you run into this. Now, on the evaluations, one of the situations here, what I would do is go through them all first and see if there is any of that stuff and highlight it so when you get to it, it's going to jump out at you. Okay, in the white book, the workbook on page 3-07, we've got 10 situations. We'll just take a couple minutes on those. 22.
18 October, 17 October.
Yeah, does everybody agree with that?
Yes.
Who doesn't agree? What happened?
You gotta look at the year too.
He's got a 2-year break right there. Okay, let's go to the next one. Number 15.
Oh, 22 negative 21. Yes.
All right. Anybody having trouble with that one? Boy, it's easy, isn't it? Why am I standing up here with a false sense of security? Okay, let's go to number 4.
14.
14. Hello.
1 March to 28 Feb.
1 March, 28 Feb. Just like we did on the board.
41.
Number 41. Why didn't you give him a heart? What do we got?
Hey, you do that one.
You didn't do that one. We'll do it real quick.
We'll wait.
weird stuff, so start from bottom, work up for a break.
15 June through,
We're on number 5.
Is there a break between 9 November 90 and 10 December 91? Okay, so everything ahead of that doesn't count, just cover it up.
10 December through 9 December.
10 December through 9 December. Once you find a break in service, just cover up everything above that break, and it has no effect on it. Okay, let's go to number 6.
Number 5.
Number 5.
6 October, 5 October.
6 October, 5 October. Now, I want you to take a look at this one because somebody's going to do this, I'm afraid. It always happens. They'll look at that RA service in there, and they'll start it down here. Don't do that, because remember, once established never changes unless there's a break in service or ING. Makes no difference what service follows it.
How do you determine DET time from the left column?
They don't tell you DEP.
That's all I need to know.
They don't tell you DEP. Okay, for number 7. Looks like you'll pick that up on a DD 214. On the fire service.
08 March to 07 March.
8 March through 7 March. We had a couple of days, or a couple of years there, 4 years break. 4 years and 2 days, something like that. 4 years? No, more.
3 years, 10 months.
3 years, 10 months, whatever. Got a break. 1 day break, that's good enough to get everything done. Okay, let's go to the next one.
Number 9.
Number 9.
15 November to 14 November.
15 November, 14 November. First 2 are active component, right? Don't need a retirement year for them. Okay, the next one.
39.
39.
7 October, 6 October.
Yeah. Boy, he thought he was picking on you and he gave you an easy one, didn't he?
Yeah.
Of course, they're all. Okay.
Number 1.
Number 1.
16 May, 14 May.
Oh, let's take a look at it. What's that weird stuff we gotta look for?
Okay.
Okay, now what is it?
7 August to 16 August.
Yes.
17 August, 16 August. Got an ING in there. Consider that a break in service. Forget everything above it. Now, if you take your time, go through these. If you have a word situation, which you will have, set it up chronologically like this so you can see what's going on. You just try to pick the dates out of the words, it'll cause you problems. I think, if I recall, you're only going to do 6 of these on the evaluation. And as I recall, the only weird stuff involved is ING. Be careful of leap years. What years have 29 days in February? Yeah. If a soldier gets out on 28 Feb 1988, gets back in on 1 March 1988, is there a break?
No.
Yes.
Shake your head yes. There's a 1 day break. There's a 29 February in there. Be careful. Break is 1 day. Okay, any questions now on return?
Now, so let's say that you're going to get $1,000 a month at retirement. Well, the cost is .065 for SBP. I mean, this is just a flat rate. That's what it costs. Okay, so what is that, $65? Okay, so it's going to be $65 per month. They're going to take out of your check. If you went full amount, this will be called base amount whenever you make a decision for SVP. So you got your base amount of $1,000, your full retirement. So if you say, yes, I want SVP, I want full amount, this will cost you $65 a month, and they'll take it out of your check. Now, they won't tax you on the $65, but they will on the remainder of your check. Okay, understand? Okay, in other words, that's, now, so that, this is just the standard rate. I'm gonna put STD standard. Okay. And that's how simple yours will be if you take an active duty retirement, and at least half of you here probably will. Okay. I want to go one little step further with this. Let's say that you said, golly, I don't want to take $65 out of my check. Could I get a less amount of insurance? Yes, the answer is. You can drop this base amount down to $411. But let's say you made it $500 for your base amount. You're still working on $1,000. In other words, 1,000 minus 65, then taxed, okay?
As you're saying it though, how much will the life insurance?
Okay, but we'll do the next step on that. Okay? Okay, yeah. All right, we're going to answer that right after this. Now, what if you made your base amount 500? What would they take out of your check? $32.50. That's right. It's just that simple. So they take $32.50 from the 1,000 because this is your pay. See, you made your base amount less so that they would take less out. But that means less coverage for the spouse, right? Okay. Now, let me give you the rate. For all of you that are AGR, in case of your death, $1,000, 0.55, $55%, $550. In case of your death, will go to your designated beneficiary. If you made your base amount $1,000. But if you dropped it down to 500, it'd be half of that for you, right? Question?
If you would put your youngest child as your beneficiary, could you do that?
Sure. And we're going to do one today where you figure the cost on the children. Very small. Very small. But now their coverage is only up to what age? Anybody know?
21?
Well, 18. But if they're in college or some kind of accredited school, it's up to age 22. And then that stops. If your child is married, they can't be a beneficiary. Yes.
So you're going to touch on Social Security also?
Yes, absolutely. We're going to do a whole scenario on the board. This is a strategy. Mr. Barr, yes, Sergeant Campbell, y'all fix this up, Steve. You gonna draw this? Thanks. Okay. These are checks. This is a check, this is a check, and this is a check. We're gonna fill these things in off of the scenario. We'll build this a hypothetical situation. And we'll fill these checks in, and yes, we will deal with Social Security offset. Okay. All right. Now, I just wanted to do this because for those of you that are AGR, this is quite simple. I mean, it's simple. 0.065 times whatever you want to make base amount to be. In case you're dead, designated beneficiary gets 55% of your base amount, just like that. But it's a little bit more, I'm not going to say complicated, but we're going to uncomplicate it. It's just a little bit more detailed. If we do this for a reservist, because again, you can't draw a dime until you're 60. And so there's a waiting period, a gray area there. And that's what we want to deal with out of the St. Louis booklet, okay? Now, with your booklet, I'd like for you to just turn it around. On yours, we redid these. Mine, I've got one that, I redid it. I like to have that 1883 on the back. So what you're looking at there is the back side of the DD form 1883 when you just take your St. Louis book and turn it around. You just turn it around and look at the very back side. You're looking at the back side of the DD form 1883. If you look over, turn the page, you'll see the front side of 1883. Okay? Now, this is the form that has to be filled out for the reservists when they make an election on RCSP. Now, that's easy to fill out. That form is not difficult at all. It's easy, okay? But the key here is which option would Sergeant and Mrs. Jones want? Would they want A, B, or C? Because as reservists in this waiting period, there's 3 options. Don't have an option on active duty, as we pointed out. It's just a flat rate, okay? But they can go A, B, or C. And what we want to do is explain A, B, and C. then you can explain A, B, and C to Sergeant Mrs. Jones and council, because it's not that difficult. Okay, so everybody back to the back side of your 1883, the very back of your St. Louis booklet. You'll notice in the upper item, up there are those three options, A, B, and C. So let's attack it like that. Would someone read option A, please? Yes, please, thanks.
Option A, applies.
Okay.
Who's the rest of it? Oh, we go.
Go ahead and read the rest of A.
Option B.
No, just A. Is that all?
No, ain't bold A.
I'm sorry. Okay.
I will remain eligible to make an election for coverage at age 6.
All right, thanks. Okay, so option A is saying, we're not going to make a decision on this at this time. Sergeant Mrs. Jones, we're not going to make a decision. We don't want this income replacement or insurance, you might say. We don't want it at this time. And so they say, just put us down for option A. Now, why would someone not want the SPP income replacement? Yes.
They were single.
Okay, that's a good answer. They're single. They don't have a beneficiary to leave this to. So why should I pay for insurance if I don't have anyone to leave it to? So that's a good, legitimate reason for option A. Okay, what's another reason? Just a practical reason.
They might be independently wealthy and have annuity plans and stuff like that.
That's right. They might, or they might have a lot of insurance already. They say, I've got a lot of insurance, no, everybody's well taken care of in case of my death, so I really don't need any more insurance. So option A is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. Okay. Yes. Yes. All right.
So what if what if the soldier dies and the spouse left in that gray area and he doesn't know what's going on? What happens to him?
All right, good question. Excellent. Now, let me ask you, I'm going to throw this one back at you, and I'll ask you 2 or 3 questions. All right, in the case you did, well, let's take Sergeant Mrs. Jones that we're talking about, okay? Let's say he's about 45 and she's about 43, 44. Okay? They say, we want option A. Okay? They agree to it. And let's say at age 48, he dies. Now, question number 1, will he get anything out of his retirement? No, because you have to reach what age? 60. You don't draw a dime. Okay. So he wouldn't get anything. Now, Mrs. Jones being his spouse and they're taking option A, would she get anything out of it? No. Because they declined the insurance.
You have to insure it.
For protection. For protection. That's right. Now, in the old days, when Mr. Laura and I got our 20-year letter, they didn't have RCSP. So in our cases, it's with no insurance. If we deceased before age 60, we don't get anything. There's no coverage for anybody, so that's just it. No retirement, nothing for anybody. But Congress passed this public law and said we're going to take care of the reservists too, and we're going to give them some options. So they worked out these 3 options, A, B, and C. Okay, so option A. Now I want to throw another little thing in on option A. Look at the note down at the bottom of that item, not the bottom of your page. But at the bottom of that, it says something like it, retiree does not election. They like B or C at this time, and should decease before age 60, and they do not get benefits under Public Law 95-397. Okay, what that is a medical privilege card. Now, when a reservist reaches age 60, their spouse is granted a medical privilege card. That means, for example, they go out to Little Rock Air Force Base and get free medical treatment. And I was out there not too long ago, and an old friend of mine and his spouse was there. And Mrs. Edge, he was see that before, retired. Mrs. Edge was there in the dental office. She had an appointment. Well, that's free medical treatment. Why? Because he either took B or C, and at age 60, Mrs. Edge was given a medical privilege card. But if they take A and die before age 60, that wipes out that medical privilege card. So you might want to make a little note. Yes? Yeah, 65. Age 65, that's right. But it's good for 5 years. And that's a lot of good treatment, yes.
If you need that option A, how long do you have to come back in and take medical?
Okay, good question. Now, you don't until age 60. You notice in there, I declined to make an election this time. However, when I reach age 60, then I got another shot at it. Okay? All right, hang on to that. Maybe you'll help.
Well, if you take option A because you're single, but you get married,
Okay?
you can turn around and make another election because at the time you made your original election, your status is different than what it is now. So
That's
you
right.
can make another election.
Yeah.
Right.
The little St. Louis book will tell you that. And if a person takes option A, okay, and they're single, they get married, then they have 1 year to make an election. So they got to do it by their first anniversary. Now, the only exception to that is if there's if there's a child, then that's an exception. If there's a child, they call it issue there. Sounds kind of cold, but anyway, if the child born, then it can be effective then. Okay, but it's not effective until the first anniversary. Okay. All right, everybody pretty clear now on option A. Now, Mr. Barr and I have a real good friend, and his name is Raymond Jones. In fact, he called yesterday. We're having a big get-together with a lot of our guest instructors all over the nation, the 19th and 20th of May. And so, Raymond Jones, see that before, we call him Indiana Jones, of course, because he's from Indiana. So Indiana called me yesterday. But anyway, he took option A back when he had the opportunity. And he wanted option C, but Mrs. Jones said, no, I want you to take option A. He did. Yes, dear. So he took option A because she wanted it to cost as little as it could. If you take option A and make it to age 60, then you got another chance at age 60. It's cheaper then because you waived your coverage up to age 60, so it wouldn't start in effect until age 60. Well, he made it till age 60 because about 3 years ago, in June, he retired right here. He was here when he retired, and then he took SPP. So we might say option A is for the optimist because they say, I know I'm going to make it age 60. Mrs. Jones knew he was going to make it 60. He wasn't too sure, but she said, honey, you're going to make it. You're going to make sure you make it. She did. But anyway, does that paint a good picture on that? In other words, they say, we don't want it. However, when the member reaches age 60, they can say yes or no, just like you that are HDR, because at that point, there's no waiting period. And so if the cost then is less, because it's just what? 0.065. In case of death, then it's 0.55 of the base amount. No, B is different. B is different, yes. Let us unconfuse.
So at 60, you got to take option A and make it age 60. Why do you have something more to say? Don't you just get the income now?
Oh, yeah, you get the income. We're just talking about the income with place of protection for the spouse or children.
So even if the soldier dies at age 61, that's not nothing.
But he would have at least, but in that case, he would have at least drawn a check for a year. So he got a check for a year if he dies at age 61. At age 60, he starts drawing his check. But they don't take anything out for SVP because he didn't take it, okay? Well, let me,
You're paying for a term insurance to your wife.
well, in a sense, it's really more like income replacement because insurance is usually paying a lump sum, but this is a monthly annuity. Okay, so it's more of an income replacement, really what it is. Now, is everybody pretty clear now on option A? They say, I don't want it. Okay. However, at age 60, they've got another shot at it. Okay. But if they get married and they're single, then they've got a year to make an election. They can take legal decision. Oh, well, if they take option A and get divorced, it don't make a difference. We'll do those as we come.
He's remarried, and he has a chance.
Yeah, we'll do those. But right now, I want to keep it real simple on option A. I want everybody to make sure that you can explain that to someone that you were counseling. So option A, they say, we don't want it. You type up the, or you have the clerk type up the 1883, you send it to the AG, not the reserves. Or St. Louis is down at the bottom of your form because our AGs handle these and then send them to St. Louis. The reserves deal directly with St. Louis. We've got it better because we've got the AGs above it. Okay? All right. Now, any other questions on A, where they decline the insurance? Okay. All right, let's go to B now, option B. And I'd like someone to read that.
Option B, I'd like to provide an annuity beginning on the 60th anniversary of my birth. Should I die before that date or on that date, after date of death, should I die or after my 60th birthday?
Well, that one's pretty simple. I think we can just skip over it and go to 60. That sounds like insurance, dog. First time I read that, I said, say what? Let me explain B by example, okay? Sergeant Mrs. Jones, we're back counseling this. Now, what did we say? He's about 45, she's 43. Okay. They say, we won't B, option B, after you counsel. So if you have the clerk, when you get back from the post office, out of 1883 there, and in item 9 on the front side, you X B, option B, and that takes care of it. And, you know, they sign it and all that. Okay. Remember, he's 45, she's 43. Let's say under option B, he dies at age 48. Now, will he get anything out of his retirement? No. How old do you have to? I'm gonna keep pounding that at you, okay? We gotta get that in our head. You gotta be 60. Okay. All right. With Mrs. Jones under option B, get anything out of his retirement?
In 12 years.
Yes. When he would have been 60, had he lived, would she start drawing an annuity or a monthly check? Yes. Now, turn your form over and look on the front side. Your 1883. Look up near the top, and you've got about 5 items up there. Let's key in on item number 3 and item number 5. Everybody see that? All right. What's item number 5? Date of birth. What's item number 3? Okay. That's an even 60 years from date of birth. Now, fast, we don't add a day or subtract a day or any of that crazy personnel math. If they're born on the 15th, they're going to reach age 60 on the 15th, so to speak. In your blue book, you've got an example. In fact, in your blue book, there's a couple of arrows there that tell you it must be an even 60, because that's their retirement, age 60. In your blue book, there's a couple of arrows up there at item 3 and item 5. Well, item number 3 is the date that the member would reach age 60, right? Okay. Under option B, that's the date that Mrs. Jones would start receiving a monthly check in case of death of Sergeant Jones. So really, that's a delay, isn't it? That's a waiting period for option B. Now, when we get into figuring costs, you're going to find that there's very little difference in the cost between B and C. But C has much better coverage, I think. Okay? So now, are there any questions on B, option B? Simply this: if the member deceases before age 60, then the designated beneficiary would not receive an annuity or monthly payment until the member would have been 60. Yes, Sergeant Mitchell.
Yeah, and Mr. Jones can come back 12 years later after that if she already got married within that 12 years, correct?
Yeah, the rule is this, and this is in your book. The magic age is 55. If Mrs. Jones marries before age 55, that cuts out any of her SBP. And this will go to UHCR too. Okay. Thank you. Okay. However, if she waits until 55 to remarry, then it has no effect on her payment. She will get it for the rest of her life. Everybody? That is a rule for, okay, technicians. Let me get your question right next. There's several of you in here that are technicians, right? Okay. Now, you need to know this. As a technician, when you have been on board 18 months, there's a thing called survivor benefit. It has nothing to do with this military RCSBP we're talking about. It's totally separate. It's another government income protection program. You don't pay for it when you're a technician. But if you're on board 18 months and you deceased, then your designated beneficiary gets 55% of your monthly income every month. And a lot of technicians don't know that. But this is applicable to all federal employees. Pardon? No, that's totally different. This is totally different. Okay, everybody understand that. Now, when you retire, like Mr. Barr and I, we have to pay for that income protection, and they take it out of our check every month. But they take nothing out of your technician's pay for survivor benefit to protect your designated beneficiary in case of your death as a technician. But it's totally separate from RCSBP. Has nothing to do with this one. Your question, then yours, and then yours. Yes.
Okay, so for A, we have the fee would be 65% of the base amount is your flat rate.
No. A, we say we don't want it. So they're
Okay,
not gonna-
right, but there's a fee that you're, at age 60, you're gonna be paying 65%.
If you get to be age 6 and say, I still don't want it, they won't charge you a dime because you don't have it.
But if you elect it,
Yes, it'll be a .06
and then of that, 65% is what goes to the
Exactly.
person.
And we're going to reinforce this as we go along on these worksheets.
Okay, so for B though, we're not talking about any percentage of what it's cost at this point?
Yes, yes. There is an, what we call an RC factor, and there is a cost. We'll get into that when we start our scenario. Okay, and,
Well,
yes.
it's kind of along with what I went, what, when I was told to go and stop at age 60. And we can pay benefits at that time.
In case of death of the member, the spouse would receive 55% of the base amount. Yeah, if they die before age 60, let's go back now. Go back to B again. Sergeant Mrs. Jones takes the, he dies at age 48. What will he get out of retirement? Nothing. What will Mrs. Jones? 55% minus a little bit of RC coverage, and we'll get that later. But she won't draw it until when? When he would have been 60 in this case. That's right. Okay. All right, any other questions? Oh, yeah, I'm sorry.
If Mr. Barr is a retired technician, would he be able to get both on
Yes, so let me give you an example. We had a, some of you may remember Sergeant Robertson. He was a law teacher here. We called him Robbie. Robbie died last okay, hold on. He died last June, okay? Robbie had SGLI now. Have we done SGLI next one? All right, so what's the maximum?
200,000.
200,000. Somebody talked Robbie in some time ago to take the full amount. Bless his heart, he did. So his wife, she's got $200,000. Now, Robbie was a DAC, Department of Army Speed. That's a federal employee. All right. Then his wife, she works over here, you know, that way. She, as a recipient, got 55% of his pay monthly as a federal employee. Got that? Okay. Also, he had option C on RCSB. Now, he was an E7 or I think he was 88. He used to be a lieutenant colonel, but he took it. Both got it. But anyway, so RCSBP, she gets a monthly check. So she got $200,000. She gets a monthly check off the federal employee and a monthly check off the RCSBP. Plus unpaid town allowances, debt gratuity, benefits. I'll get your phone number.
You guys just said raw wine.
And Robbie, if we had loved Robbie, he was kind of, he just bought it. Big old,
Some people married to love.
what do you call them? Cow, Dodge, do and all that. Well, yeah.
On that technician thing, you said there's nothing taken out of the check.
No.
Covered, but there's
No,
nothing-
no, let's make another point right here.
That's automatic?
Everybody's, this question here on that technician thing, was anything taken out? No, no. Now, let me ask you this, on the RCSBP, on the MD side, and also on the active duty side, do they take anything out of our checks for retirement?
No.
Nothing. So we call this more or less a reward, don't we? It's a reward, because we paid absolutely nothing into it. So what we try to teach our retirement counselors is, counsel your, are you there? Counsel your soldiers on how to manage a reward, because that's what it is. They're getting a reward. Now, you know, they may drill, made ADSW, and maybe went to Desert Storm or wherever. They got paid for it. They got paid for that, right. So this is really a reward. So how are you going to manage that reward? Okay? Okay. Now, any other questions or comments on option B? Okay. Let's go to C. Who would read option C? Anybody want to read option C? This is, yes, go ahead. Go ahead.
I elect to provide an immediate annuity beginning on the day after date of my death, whether before or after age 60.
Okay, thanks. Okay, option C simply says an immediate annuity for a designated beneficiary in case of death of a member. All right, let's take our situation again. He's 45, she's 43 in this case. Now, it works the same thing because a lot of female soldiers are getting their 20-year letter now. Works precisely the same way. Everybody understand it? There's no difference. When this first came out, there was some different, actually, aerial paper. But now, everything's the same. In fact, I'm going to get off here a little bit because in our retirement counseling course, one of our scenarios is that we have a captain and a sergeant major. Now, the sergeant major, in this case, is the female. They're man and wife, okay? She gets her 20-year letter, and she takes option C, an immediate annuity to the captain in case of her death. He's just gotten his 20-year letter, and he's coming in for counseling. And guess which option he wants? A. That's right. And so the counselor has to counsel him through this. And there's some tough ones that come up, you know. We have another situation where this guy is remarried, but he has made his ex-spouse, which you can do if you read your singles book, the beneficiary. But his current spouse doesn't know this. And while the counseling session is going on, the former spouse gets wind of this, and she comes in and breaks in on the counseling session. So, and we take these like we're doing now, and then we bring them back after we critique, and then everybody critiques. And we've had some Oscar-winning actors and actresses. I mean, we had a student one time actually crying real tears. I mean, they were wet, real tears. So we enjoy that course. We learn a lot out of it. And so, again, if you counsel, get down. We're doing 2 in October. One is the first part of October, and one is the last week in October. So put down for that. Back to option C. Option C simply says, in case of death of the member, there's an immediate annuity to the designated beneficiary. He's 45, she's 43, he dies at 46. Will he get anything out of his retirement? No. Well, Mrs. Jones?
Yes.
When? I mean, there's your 3 options, just like that. Not too difficult. Not too difficult. Everybody understand all 3? Now, do we have any questions on A, B, or C? Okay, the cost is 0.065 plus what we call an RC percentage. Okay, and when we get into our worksheets, I'm going to explain those to you. Those of you at AGR, you don't have to worry about the RC because it doesn't affect you. There's no waiting period. One more thing, the way I made my decision on was I'd already had that 20-year letter, like Mr. Barr and I both, because we're only a month apart, and they come out with this for the reserves. Nobody knew anything about it. I'm telling you, it was new. So I had to make a decision. Well, I knew a guy named Bill Thompson. And I thought he knew more about personnel than anybody else. I said, Bill, which one of these I take? He said, take option C. I said, give me C. That's the way I made my decision. Now, we can beat that today, can't we? Because we can explain this. And you know, soldiers that would not have a large income on retirement, and they've got other insurance, they may want to consider A. Or they may want to consider a lesser base amount, so it won't cost them as much. But a beneficiary wouldn't get as much in case of death. But we're going to work this scenario out. I think we're at the break time. Let's take 10. Come on. The RPAS statement, it will project the retirement. Nice. Now the way it does that. Okay, so for good round teaching purposes, his estimated retirement is $500. Now we're going to make the base amount 500. In other words, he's going to say shoot the works. In other words, I want you to figure my RCSVP on my whole retired pay. His date of birth is 5/8/50, and her date of birth is 2/12/47. We're going to do option C only today, just for teaching purposes. Now, what I'd like for you to do is turn in your workbook, your white book, and there will be I tell you what, save those. Let me just give you a few sheets. Work each one of them. Just work off of this. We've got some built-in worksheets for you, and I think that'll help you. But let's do this little situation on the sheet. And if I give you one extra, well, that's okay. Two, three, four. Probably 4 or 5 there. Does everybody have a worksheet? Donna got some. Now, you want the side that says SPP worksheet for spouse, former spouse, spouse and children, former spouse and children. That's the side we want to work on. The back side of it, excuse me, you will note, is for children only. So we can, and there will be a situation where we want to do that. But right now, let's go with the side that says for spouse and those things. So look at your worksheet, and we'll start this. And I'm going to keep the board open there. All I want us to do right now is key in on basic information. And we know that our estimated monthly retirement is $500. So enter 500 there. Okay. Now, his date of birth, we said, was 5/May/50. And her date of birth, Ms. Jones, is 2/12/49. Now, in this case, there are no eligible children because we want to keep this real simple. Now, what I want to do is go to the board and show you how to round off ages. We're going to use today's date. Now, in your situation you do on evaluations, we'll give you today's date. It'll be a given. But today, let's just use today's date. So, today is 95/05/03. And his date of birth was, what, 50/05/05? And now I want to change this. I want it to work out a little bit different. Let's make his date of birth yesterday. The second. He had a birthday yesterday. We said he's going to be 45. I think this will work out to 45. It doesn't? Will it?
Yeah.
The other way would have. Next birthday would be 45.
And we said today is still 03, and he had a birthday yesterday? Second. And this will be easy. Don't tell me now, I do this. I think. Well, what's that, 45? Now, the key here, if they hit a 6 months plateau, you count a year over. So in this case, he didn't hit it. So he's 45. So enter 45 on your form. Oh, and now we're going to do Mrs. Jones' age and 49/02/02. That's not good. I want one. I want one that's over 6 months plateau. Let's make the born a little bit earlier.
You need to make her born in June then.
48/08, will that work? Let's try it. Let's see. All right, that's okay there. And that's what, 17 and 4? Okay, 9 and 6. Well, I'm really on today.
Yeah, she's gonna be older.
Let's make it born in
She's older.
50. Now let's try this. Okay, what was this, a 4?
Oh.
Fix this thing after all. All right, 51.
Change
43.
All right, did she reach the 6-month plateau?
Yeah.
How old is she?
44.
All right, I made it. Look at it.
What's your date of birth now?
Now, I've got to change it. What do we say this month?
You're right.
Okay. Now, I can go on. I think you've already gotten yours. And we'll say Sergeant Jones. Base amount still $500. We're going to shoot the worst. All right, soldier day next birthday, he was what, 45? 44?
Yeah.
All right, now, no children. Now, on this little thing here, it says, using the SBP ages, figure the difference in soldiers and spouses' age. Okay? It says so many years younger or older than soldiers. How many? It's easy. Once you do the rounding off process that we did on the board, then it's easy to round it off. So it's going to be what? Younger? Now, any questions on the, what we call the basic information? How do we come up with the estimated monthly retirement? That comes off the RPAS statement. Mr. Barr's going to teach that later. And you can plug those in and you'll know what the soldier gets now or will get at age 60 when they retire. So that's where we get that information. Okay?
That's at its present rank, though, correct?
That's at current rank, yes. Right. So you have to estimate some of this, but we can estimate it so closely that they can make a good decision. Okay? All right, now any question now on this basic information? All right? Now, let's go to option C. And I'll leave Okay, remember this. So this, all insurance is paying everything. Cost of living raises the tax. Once this is sent to St. Louis, the whole thing is converted to a percentage. Okay? And then your percentages apply right on down the line. So, yes, they are affected as cost of living goes up, or COLAs, cost of living allowances go up, then they're going to go up. Okay, but we figured on the current rate, okay, as everything escalates. Now, look at the cost here, in section 2, in your worksheet. We're going to go over to option C. Now, we do B or C either one, see, on the same worksheet. We're going to option C, right? That's the one we're doing for this illustration. Now, so what's our first step? Plug in the base amount, $500. All right. Now, we have to go to the RC. Remember this RC cost? Now, waiting period cost? Now, you AGRs, you don't have to worry about that, do you? There's no waiting period. But for those M-Day soldiers that we service, we've got to hit them with an RC cost. So turn, I believe it's page 11. Turn over to page number 11, St. Louis book. Now, we just talked to St. Louis this morning, and they've gotten some new tables in from D.C. We've run these so many times, they're a little bit hard to make out. If doing evaluations, a little hard to make out, come out and ask us. We're busy now, and we're going to get these redone. We're going to do them on the computer where they'll be easier and larger once we get these new tables in. They're sending them today. So if you want to call us in 2 or 3 months, we'll write us a note. We'll send you a new St. Louis book. Okay, page 11. Page. Okay, now let's get in. We'll get you in. First of all, we want option C, right? You guys see that? Now, we want spouse only or spouse and children.
Page 8.
It's on page 11 too.
Look at it.
Is that child only? Child only. All right, page 8. Everybody zero in on page 8. Should look something like this. Option C, spouse get the same cost for spouse and kids. You can throw the kids in free if you insure the spouse. That's the way it is. Now, let's see how this works. We want to, oh, one more point I want to make. You see that younger than member? Now, Mrs. Jones was what, 1 year younger? Now look at the bottom half. What's that for? That's when the beneficiary is older than a member, but in this case younger. So we're on the right page. Now, let's take the member's age. How old did we say Sergeant Jones was? 45. All right. And then this is the age difference, 0 to 4. And of course, she was 1 year younger, so we want these two columns to meet. And they're going to meet at what? 0.0515. All right, with that, let's go back to our worksheet. 0.0515. Okay. That's this RC cost, this waiting period cost. Now, does everybody have a calculator?
Yeah.
Anybody need one?
Yeah.
You need one, Sergeant Stevens. We have a few. She'll get you one and raise your hand when you come back. Okay, now take the calculator, multiply 500 times 0.0515. How much? 25.75. Everybody agree?
Yes.
Okay, we've done that RC cost.
Are they on the table up there too?
Yes. There's two. Who needs a calculator? All right. You pass that down to Stevens. Now, if you happen not to have one, work with someone that has a calculator. All right. Now, remember the standard cost that we talked about for all AGR that's going to take an active duty retirement? We said it was what? 1065. Now, this is the regular cost. This is the reserve cost. For those of M-Day soldiers, we charge them the regular cost plus the reserve cost. But for those of you that are AGR, we don't charge you that, or they don't charge you that. Because there's no waiting period. You take an immediate annuity. Got it? All right, let's plug in $500. Now we're going to multiply the standard 0.065. And what do we get? 32.50. Now, to see what it's going to cost Sergeant Miss Jones, and incidentally now, and I want to make it clear because I may not have while ago, the only way you can, quote, pay for this is out of the member's retirement check. A while ago I said out of their check. I meant in my mind retirement check, but it may have come across as their regular paycheck check. You can't pay for this any way except out of your retirement check. Okay? Everybody understand that? Only way you can pay for it. Okay? So we got 32.50 and 25.75, which makes what? 58.45. Now that's what it's going to cost in our situation that we have on board. Now what we can do here, we can take the estimated retirement, which is $500, and we can subtract 58.25 from that, can't we? Let me go to the board. Now we're going to start filling in checks. Okay. Now, was that 58.25 that it's going to cost?
Yes.
Okay. 58.25 per month. Okay. So Sergeant Jones is not going to get the 500. He's got to pay for SDP, which is going to be 58.25. Okay, so 500 minus 58.25 is what? 441.75. Okay. Now this is subject to taxation. There's no tax on this cost, but this is subject. This will be taxed, this amount here. So this is the check minus taxation. Everybody understand that? Again, the only way you can pay for this is out of the retirement check. This is his retirement check. Now, any questions on that part? Put it
Yes, question?
No single tax without.
They take the taxes based on this. Not on the 500, they don't tax, they don't tax the individual. Okay, and your St. Louis book will tell you all this stuff, okay? Okay, so this is what Sergeant Jones will get at retirement when he reaches age 60, 441 minus taxation. Any questions now on this process? That's the way you figure cost for a reservist. But again, for those of you that are AGR, remember, you're just class point is costing $32.50. Don't figure this because there was no waiting period. Okay? Any questions? All right, let's go ahead and figure what Mrs. Jones would get in case of Sergeant Jones' death. All right? Go down to the bottom of your worksheet, and we've got option C right here. Again, we plug in our base amount, don't we? $500. Now it says enter cost from line 1, option C above. Now make sure that you go to line 1. Now this is line 1 right here. $25.75. That's the reserve cost. So enter 25.75 here. Now we subtract. Okay. And what's the answer there? 474.25. Now we can take the 55%, the standard rate. Okay. For those of you that are AGR, it's just to put 55 of this. But we got to zing them a little bit there because of that waiting period. So 55% of 474.25 rounded down to the whole dollar is what? 261. Everybody agree?
Round down.
Round down. 660. Now, let's go back to the board. Say 260. Question?
Yeah, when you say round down, if there's any cents left over, you just drop it, even if it's 85 cents.
Oh, what we're doing, we're giving them an estimate.
Okay.
Just to work with the whole dollar. Okay. Now, let's review now on this. Now that we're at this point. Now, Sergeant Jones, he does make it to age 60. He starts drawing this check. How long can he draw it?
Till he dies.
That's right. If he lives to be 100, he can keep on drawing this, and your cost of living and all those raises that we get, they apply. Okay? So he just keeps on drawing. This would never happen as long as he's alive. Very simple. Of course, now it's not really a check. It just electronically goes to the bank, but it's a good point of reference when we show a check. So if you're counseling someone and want to use a check, it's still a good, it's a good reference point. So, 441.75 minus taxation every month is deposited right into that account every month, as long as he lives. Okay. But in case of his death, now under option C, we said he was 45 and she was 44. Okay? Let's say under option C, he deceases. Would this immediately kick in? Yes. This immediately kicks in. Okay? Now, would he have ever paid anything for this coverage? No. No, because the only way you can pay for it is how? He didn't live to be age 60, did he? So that's the value of option C. It's an immediate annuity. No, he'll never get one of these. He'll never pay anything. But Mrs. Jones gets 55% of his base amount minus that RC, that waiting period. See, the worksheets will do it for you. Now, they have computer programs that do the same thing for you, and they're good, but I like the worksheet because it breaks it down. It lets those of you that are AGR see what it's going to cost you. It also lets those that are MDA what it's going to cost them, and the annuity too. Okay? Now, any questions to this point? That's his check. In case of his death, pardon. Okay. Pardon?
That's what you guys heard.
Anytime. Under option C, it's an immediate annuity anytime. once they get the 20-year letter in their hand, they make an election. If they take C, then bang, they're covered. They can die the next day, they can die 50 years from now. But whenever they do, then the beneficiary will immediately start receiving a monthly check. No, no. The only thing that change would be the cost of living, you know, you get those anyway.
Well, I guess my question is that nice little thing down there.
All right, let me get to that now. What I want to do is make sure everybody understands this to this point. Okay? Now, if there are no more questions there, then something happens to all of us at age 62. We become Social Security eligible. Okay? We don't have to start drawing Social Security at age 62, but we are eligible. Now, here's the deal. Since 1957, 1 January 57, they take out Social Security for all our active duty pay, right? For those of you that age you are, those of you that might be technicians, and you get some ADSW, or you go to anchor training, whatever. At active duty, they take out Social Security. Now, the government matches that. So, the government says, since this is a government social subsidized program, and so is Social Security for active duty, it's a government subsidized program too. They're going to reduce this down to 35% of the base amount if the beneficiary is drawing this. It has to be dead to social. And they're drawing this. When he or she, whichever one's the beneficiary, reaches age 62, it drops to 35%. So on our worksheet, let's figure that. What's 35% of this bottom figure? 474.25. 65. How much? 165? Down. No, really, down.
Drop the cent.
474.
474, 260.
Yeah, 474.25 times 0.35. 155?
165.
$165.
Drop the cent.
Oh.
So let's go back to the board. All right, let me enter this and I'll be quick. Okay. Check gets a little skinnier along the way, doesn't it? Now the question.
Page 30, the process starting rate at 5.
To 65. Oh, I don't know. I don't know. I know that August wants to make a compromise at one time. They want to make it 50. They wanted to make it 50% all the way. In other words, instead of 55%, it'd be 50% all the way. But I haven't heard anything about whether they've gotten that even to Congress or not. I don't know. Yes, your question.
You lost me when you did the 35%.
Okay, let me go over it again.
Line 3. Why do you do line 3 versus 260?
Okay, let's go back to this part right here. Now, okay, this is 55% of base amount minus that RC coverage. Okay. Now, at age 62, when they become Social Security eligible, because military pay since 57 is taken out from Social Security, then they say, we're going to drop that to 35% of the base amount minus the RC.
If they both are living, it
No,
doesn't matter.
no, good question. Let me track it for you again. No, they're not. Now remember this statement I made? As long as Sergeant Jones is drawing this, these two will never happen. Everybody understand that? I mean, it's simple. He just gets his check every month and smiles when he goes down and checks the balance, and sure enough, that check was deposited electronically. Okay? Maybe even go by the Armory and wave at the guys that are just waiting to retire and smile. Yes.
But on Sergeant Jones, when he hits 62, he has that .35 commitment.
No, let me make this very clear now, because this term, Social Security offset, is misleading. It has nothing to do with Sergeant Jones's personal Social Security. It has nothing to do with your personal Social Security. It has nothing to do with Mrs. Jones' personal Social Security. The only thing it affects is that if she's drawing an annuity in case of his death, it's going to drop here. Has nothing to do with their personal Social Security. Everybody understand that? And that was misleading when this thing came out. And everybody panicked, especially those that were retired. Man, they're going to chop my Social Security down. Not so. The only way it affects is in case of his death, she's drawing this, then at age 62, when she becomes Social Security, it drops to 35. But now they got a deal where you can supplement it and get it back up to here. I guess who's going to pay for it? Now question, Jeff.
Now, Chief, the Social Security at age 62, is she drawing his Social Security or her Social Security?
Well, if he's dead, she'll probably draw his because it's probably better. Okay.
So,
But now remember, this offset has nothing to do with their personal Social Security. Only in case of his death, and she's drawing it, or vice versa, if it's a female member and she died, and the man is the designated beneficiary of the spouse. Same thing. Yes.
If Mrs. Jones is getting to that annuity statistic, she at 62, she waits the Social Security.
Don't make any
Doesn't make a difference.
Remember, it don't affect her personal Social Security. It don't affect his personal.
so she can still draw her Social Security?
Absolutely. Yes.
We were having a discussion down on break about AGR people who had their 20-year letter for the National Guard and died while on active duty. What happened?
Okay. Can I answer that when we do Sergeant Rose?
Absolutely.
Yeah, there's a definite answer. You need to know it. And we're going to do a timeline on him. We're going to figure this thing
Well, I
out.
have my 20-year letter, so I'm curious.
You just want to make sure you made the right decision.
Yes.
We'll reinforce it one way or the other. Your question.
Okay, I'm a little confused. Why are we doing the 260 when she's only going to be able to get 2 years?
Whoa. Stay with me now. Stay with me. Option C, let's say, in our case, and we know he's 45, she's 44. What if he dies at age 46? What's going to happen?
She started drawing.
She going to draw that thing more than 2 years?
Okay, so regardless, if he dies, she turns 62, she drops down to 65.
Right.
So the only thing is if he dies earlier, she doesn't.
Remember how you want to put it. Remember under option B. Oh, okay, that is everyone. That is, we've got another, these are all excellent questions, and it makes it easy to teach because you're asking questions that need to be asked, and we can answer them. Yes.
Okay, so to make it clear in my mind, 62, his payment's been dropped down to 165. He's receiving 165 now at 62. Okay.
Oh, yeah, right.
And now, at that point, her other source of income is her personal Social Security or whatever else she has.
We don't care.
Yeah, but
That's right.
someone made a statement about she has an option to select his or hers.
Yeah. On Social Security, she would have an option on this is personal Social Security. I'm not talking about this offset business. Then she can choose the one that was better. So it helps defuse people. We had our commandant secretary, her father, she was concerned about him. Now, he was a technician also, and he was a colonel in the Air Guard. And so when I broke it down, he had survivor benefits under the federal system. So that would be a monthly check. He also had option C under that. So that would be a monthly check. Okay. Plus, she could draw his Social Security and any other income they might have. So that relieved them because, in case of his death, then she would be well taken care of. She could make it on that. Yes.
Choose option C.
All right.
Can the spouse remarry
Yes.
and still claim the...
No. Now, here's what can happen on that. Let's say that option C hasn't been chosen. Let's say there is a divorce. Now, normally the divorce will nullify the whole 1883 because there's no beneficiary. Death or divorce will nullify it. Okay. So then the soldier has, the member has an option again on remarriage within 1 year of that marriage to make the new spouse a designated beneficiary. Or they may make the former spouse the designated beneficiary. And your St. Louis book will tell you that. They can do that. They can make former spouse the designated beneficiary. Now, there's only one little problem there. You need to always make sure that they read the divorce decree to see what the benefits breakout was, because more and more now, the force decrees are realizing that military benefits are good. And so if you run into anything like this, call your JAG. Don't try to figure it out, because laws will differ from state to state. And call your JAG and get them in on the act. And that's the best advice I could give you there. Okay, yes, question.
When a soldier retires in 1883, he has to check, say he's living out in the farm somewhere.
All right.
Does he have to go to the army on St. Louis?
Oh, well, now remember, you've got 90 days to get this thing in. In our case, in the Guard, we send it direct to our AG, not St. Louis. The day that soldier signs, if they receive that packet, they got 90 days to get it back to the CAG.
Well, I understand, but after that he's out of the Guard completely.
Okay.
He's at home fishing.
Right. There is where that the member must tell the spouse or the family, in case of my death now, you go back to the Survivor Assistance Office at the AG office, the level. And we get into all that in the retirement account, of course, because it is important. I mean, you're taking quite a bit out of the check, but you're guaranteeing income replacement to the beneficiary. So that's why we really are hitting these retirement account reports hard. We're going to do this tape. This tape will include benefits. And Mr. Tom Cutchin, who is one of our guest instructors, he retired last June. He hand-carried his packet to St. Louis. He made provisions to do that. And within an hour and a half, he had his whole retirement packet processed. Hour and a half. And he got his check right on time. Didn't get a check. He's already gone to Europe and used a lot of his benefits. And he's compiled these benefits for gray area and also for active duty retirees. Now, once a reservist retires, they get a blue card. Okay, it has the same privileges as an active duty retiree. There's no difference. So that blue card will get you a lot of things, and Space A and all this kind of stuff. Staying at Sergeant McElvey stayed out at the air base. This is one of our friends from Indiana, and he came down here to visit last month. He stayed at the air base for a little nothing. They put him up in a suite out there. He had that blue card. That means a lot.
I think it cost him $14 a night for that suite, the stock bar and refrigerator, the whole bit.
Hear that? So there's a lot of benefits for retirees. I'm talking about reserve retirees. This little thing that Mr. Cutchin put together, we're giving it to all classes, just not our retirement counselors. So at the break, I'll put 4 on your table, and y'all can keep those and run them off when you get back. Because this will help you when you're counseling your soldier. It'll help you on retention, because there's a lot of benefits in the military when we retire them. Even some in the gray area. Yes.
So what happens when you have a benefit with a spouse between and he retires and
Okay. There's none in that gray area, because she cannot get a card, a medical benefit card, until he reaches age 60. And remember, if they take option A and die before age 60, they can never get it. But if they take B or C and they die before 60, then when he would have been 60, she gets it. So that's why you got to stay in touch with your AG. Pardon? Oh, well, whatever the base or post hospital does, you know, if they take it on space available, that's what it is. They don't seem to have it controlled out of the Rock Airport base. Retirees, you see them out there all the time. All the time.
When you go to the IRR, you maintain your ID card, right?
Yes.
Yeah, your pink one.
Yes.
Right. The only benefit you're really giving up, you'll go into the IRR versus retiring. Actually, your promissory privilege, right?
I reserve or individual ready reserve?
And if you go
The
back,
IRR, as far as being able to go to the commissary, no, unless you were on an active duty. Now, in the IRR, they can say, well, we've got some active duty for you for a couple of weeks over here. But if you got that order, that'll get you on. Now, it does count for PEVD purposes, longevity purposes, IRR counts. It counts for data rank purposes, because you're a mobilization asset at any time.
But you still maintain that ID card?
Yes, the pink one, yes.
Because in retirement class, they talk about that, rather than actually retiring somebody, letting them go to the IRR because they still accumulate points.
They could,
Right, and not retiring out and staying in there.
Yeah, not going to the retired reserve, but going to the IRR.
Right.
Because you're still in a live status there.
Right, so the only benefit you really give up is basically commissary privilege.
Yeah, that is. This will help you there. Take this, and this will answer all those questions. I don't want to get too off base because I've got to stay focused on the task for today. But now, we do handle those in the retirement counselor course. We get into those big time. You had it, one? No. Okay. Okay, let's do this. In your white book, workbook, we've got about 5 situations we want you to work. You just couldn't wait, could you? Okay. This will clarify a lot for you once you start working with situations. That's why we're task oriented.
You'll just come waltzing in here, they check you out, I'm gonna ask you questions. He says, I want you to answer truthfully. They look at the first one, he says, have you been faithful to your wife? Guy says, heavens yes. He says, I have never so much as even looked at another woman with evil thoughts in mind. I kind of looked at him and said, well, let me check that one out. He opens up the big book, and sure enough, the guy was telling the truth. He says, well, you're honest and you've been such a good husband. He says, I'll tell you what, here's the keys to your new Cadillac. You can drive this way. And he goes. Next one steps up and looks at him and says, have you been faithful to your wife? Well, he said, pretty much so. He says, back in my younger days, I told a few wild oats. He said, let me check it out. Sure enough, he's telling the truth. He says, well, you've been, at least you're honest. And you've been a pretty good husband. I said, here's the keys to your Chevy. You can drive this way up here. Looked at the third one and says, you've been faithful to your wife? He said, heavens no. Because I've had a good time anytime, any place I could. Peter kind of looked at him and checked the book. Sure enough, he was telling the truth. He said, well, since you're honest about it, he said, here's the keys to this old junk Ford we got. You can drive this on the road. So he heads in and he's driving down the road, the old junk Ford, and he comes up on the new Cadillac. Parked alongside the road, the guy standing up there just bawling his eyes out. He stopped, got out, went over, and he said, what is your problem? He said, you're the perfect husband, you're honest, you got the new Cadillac, and there you stand. What's the big problem? I looked at him and said, I just met my wife up here, and she was on a skateboard. We'll talk about our past for a few minutes here before we get into 2 days. Retirement points counting system. How do we earn retirement points? What are some of the ways?
Go to drill.
Be a member.
Drill? Be a member. Correspondence courses? How many members do you get for that? One for every 3. Annual training, 1 per day, right? New enlistment, recruiting, point for everyone they bring in. If they're not a recruiter. Can't get them to be a recruiter. Some other ways.
ADSW, ADT.
ADSW, ADT, get a point a day. Okay, the other way?
Being a member. And RMA.
Yeah,
ATAs, RMAs, we already said membership. Anything else?
Yeah, you can go to like certain meetings or conferences, like if you're a chaplain or something, and you go off and do like visitations.
As long as you are a chaplain and that is part of your duties, you're not paid for it, you get points for that, yes.
Attending drills and points on the show.
Yeah, that's drilled. Anything else? We know it? Does anybody have doctors for you?
What?
They can get retirement points for performing medical duties without pay, like physical exams, things like that. Chaplains can get them for doing pastoral duties, performing weddings, funerals, things like that. Without pay, they can get points. You ATR folks, how many points do you earn in a year?
One a day.
You sure about that?
We actually earn more than that, we can't keep them all.
You also get 15 points membership. You get 365 points plus 15 membership. Can't use them. Can't use them. Points are divided into a couple of categories. I like to call them reserve duty points and active duty points. And then there's miscellaneous points. The most points, a soldier can earn all kinds of points. But what's the most they can use?
360.
The most they can use is 60 of the inactive duty and miscellaneous type points, plus all of the active duty type points they can earn, with a capper on the whole thing not to exceed 365 1 year. Okay. So ATR is earning 365, plus they're earning the 15, but the cap is on there to only use the 365. But it's still, you're earning it. Where do you find out about what you do to earn points? Table 2-5. NPR 680-2 lists all the different possibilities. Another way, soldier comes in and spends a couple hours getting ready to give a class on the next drill. You get a retirement point for that. Commander certified. See, all kinds of ways. Okay. Now, we mentioned this morning in the retirement year that you have to earn at least 50 points in a retirement year for that to count towards retirement. Have to earn at least 50. So, we tell a soldier, why don't you work some extension courses and use some more retirement points and up your retirement? Are we lying to them or not?
No.
Yes and no. That soldier attends 48 drills a year and they get 15 points of membership, that's already 63 and he can only use 60. So anything he earns above that, he's not going to be able to use. But this soldier is going to fall shy of that 60, or especially fall shy of the 50 needed. They can work extension courses and earn those points and they will work for them. But the soldier that attends all the drills, sure, they're earning points, but it's not up in the retirement, so they can't use them. Now, on membership points, we said 15 a year. What happens if the soldier's got a partial year?
Sure.
There's a table right in here. Which one is it? 2 days? No, it's not 2 days 1, it's about 2 days 6. Page 2 days 20, table 2 days 6. If you have a partial year. And again, we're back right into this calendar day business. How many calendar days is that soldier a member? We're really fortunate now with our pass does all this for us. We used to have to post these on the 23, we used to have to figure them out. And it tended to be a problem, especially if somebody didn't know what they're doing. I often thought if I knew then what I know now, I'd have all kinds of retirement points. But no, I wouldn't do like that. It's not worth going to 11 worth going. But here's partial. You count the calendar days and however many days a soldier's in, that's what membership points are going to be the credit. Okay, how about the 15 points per year for a good year for retirement? We've got a partial year. Look over table 2 days 4. Again, the number of calendar days, how many points it takes for that time to count. Now, where soldiers get in trouble on this 20-year retirement is a soldier that has active duty, started a career with active duty. Let's say they enlisted 4 years, regular Army. They got out 5 days early, 5 days short of that 4 years. Well, that year, they do not have 12 months credit. They've got 11 months and so many days, 25 days credit. They're short a year. And we have to watch that on the end of this 20-year business. Because they say, well, I was on all but 4 days, that's surely a good year. You know, it was a good partial year, because it's about shy of the full year. So they're gonna have to go an extra year to the next retirement year to get that 20-year letter. Now, there is one exception, is if they request to get out, once they've got it, then they have to run our past statement and do the 20-year letter if it all qualifies. Key is, if it all qualifies. Once the soldier gets out, finds out then he's 5 days shy of the 20 years qualifying time, you're going to get back in? Probably not. Probably not going to make it through MEPS. So please don't let any of your soldiers get out before they get that 20-year letter. I know all my time's good. I want out. Don't do it until you get that letter in your hand. Because I've had them where, in fact, I had one soldier that was spent 10 years in the airport, but he took an 11-day early out. And he just about got out at the end of his 20, and I talked him out of it. And sure enough, he was shy that time and had to go to his next retirement year to get a 20-year letter. So check them out, and please don't let them get out without that letter.
Now, when you've got, for instance, 19 years, 10 months, and whatever days, at the end of your retirement year, do you have to have a complete full year, or you just need a couple of good months?
Well, what you actually need is enough good time to make that up. But they won't run an RPAS statement that generates that 20-year letter until the next retirement year, unless the soldier's getting out. Then once he gets out, they'll run one. Well, if it doesn't have it at that time, doesn't have the time for 20 years, it's too late. And it's lost everything.
We've got one that's got 19 years, 11 months, 29 days. What we did was make sure he had the 3 months and then put in the IMG, which makes sure he stays under unit control. And then if the RCAS kicks out and it's not a 20-year letter, you can bring him back in.
And then bring him back in separate. Now, but protect him, so you don't let him get it clear out.
Chief, I wonder, I had one guy that discharged with 16 years, but he actually had 23 years. There was a mix-up between our archives and St. Louis archives, because they were saying that some records had got burned.
Well, we're still hearing that one.
Still hearing. Oh, yeah, they used to be.
It took us something like a year after the individual had actually got out before he got his 20-year letter with us still working on the case. And St. Louis finally came up with the information from somewhere so that we could change some codes on that. Well,
you're fortunate that they did finally come up with it. I've had these situations, especially somebody involved in a USAR unit. They disband USAR unit, and those people will come over to the guard side. And without proof of that time and retirement points, if you wait till the 20 years to try to prove it, then you go back and find out there's no record of that unit ever existed. We had that happen with, I had 3 people that came, we used to have a little nest kit repair unit of some type, USAR, about 12 miles down the road from us. And they deactivated that, did away with it. And 3 of the guys had 14 years of service. They can come over to the guard side, finish up to 20, well, that was, we were still posted at 23 to my hand. And come time to verify that for the 20-year letter, there was no record of that unit existing. And it took, I don't know how many congressionals and 3 presidential inquiries finally get that resolved. One of them retired as a sergeant major, and 2 of them as first sergeant. So it was pretty good bucks that they were worried about, and they hung in there until it was resolved. And if they say there's no record of it, I can tell you right now, somebody's lying to you. Because all pay records are kept at USAPAC for like 5 years. After that, they are put on microfilm. They are stored in vaults at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, Dayton, Ohio. But you gotta convince somebody to go dig the information out. That's the hard part. 2 to 3 years. You're lucky. All right. No, I don't. I'm telling you, that's where it is. That's where these presidential inquiries ended up going to get on these 3 guys. But it is there. The records aren't, pay records are never completely destroyed. They're in vaults or right past their point. All right, so a lot of ways to earn points. Talked about the partial years, membership, partial years requirements for good partial year. Now let's see how they are entered on the RPAS document. Some of you brought them, some of you didn't. If you didn't, no big deal. There's a copy that they ran on me when I first retired as a technician with 32 years of service. These things never are wrong, right? This shows me with 28 years, 010 days when I retired for 32 years. Well, pages checked. I did come unglued over that, they didn't get straightened out. So now it's up to speed. But that was just further solidified in my mind that you can check these things. Because how do these points get in the RPAS system?
Feedback.
Huh?
Manual input.
We got a computer that's paying the folks, talking to a computer in RPAS saying, yeah, give them a point for this day, a point for that day. Well, those two computers get along pretty good. If we've got something where a soldier's earned points without pay, now we got to justify to RPAS, we got to manually input that one. So we got people involved there. We know people make mistakes. Correspondence courses. You get 1 point for every 3 hours. We got a computer out in New Jersey talking to the RPAS computer, and those two don't understand each other at all. Very seldom will those two link up. So if somebody is working correspondence courses, make sure they hang on to the completion certificates. When this RPAS document's run, you're going to have to furnish copies of those and get manually input.
Did a lot of states have problems with their July, I think November, of not printing out the drill, you know, like on the
This year?
sheet? Yeah, well, 94.
94? I really don't know. I know there were a lot of problems before that.
I know, but we had just about in our whole state, and I just wondered if other states had the same thing. Our July drill and our November drill, there's no input.
Did you go back and manually do it?
Yeah.
Well, originally when we did the RPAS data capture, when was that? Back in
October 87.
Somewhere along in there. Did a lot of work. And that was manually input. And then all of a sudden, the system wasn't working. It didn't work. So it was down for like 2 years. And then Guard Bureau furnished another program, and they had to manually input and catch up and post all that in between time. And then, about a year after that, there was a glitch in the system, and they lost everything and had to input again under another new system that Guard Bureau put in. Now, how many people do we have doing this at state level? One. And in the large states with the large Guard population, that one person's got a problem. One person in our state's handling like roughly 14,000 records. So you know there's going to be mistakes.
I assume when I first started doing this, had that doing it verified that they had gotten proof of it, because when I was finding out, not only on the necessarily mean.
That means that, yeah, whoever put it in there said, yeah, I got proof of this.
Yeah.
That's what it means. Supposedly it's all right, but don't count on it. All right, let's take a look at what we get, the output on this thing. Are you all getting the output?
Yes.
Is anyone not getting them within a couple of months of the anniversary of the retirement year?
Well, the one that I got to bring down here is
Tops at 92? Well, we better. Well, what's his face up there, been fishing once too often, I guess. He's quite a fisherman. But the last one I got, in fact, every once in a while for a medical board, I have to run down and have them run one to see exactly how much time a soldier's got for retirement. And they tell me that at any given time, the computer is roughly 2 months behind. It takes that long for all the information to be fed in and posted. So in order to get an accurate one for the end of the retirement year, it should come probably 2 months later. And it should be accurate. All right, what's on it? NGB 23 Alpha and the 23 Alpha dash 1. Got the soldier identification on the left hand, upper left hand side. The right hand side, some information about date it's prepared, the retirement year end date, BASD, which basic active service date only applies to AGR. The date it was closed out, the reason, and then there's a place for an individual's initials that reviewed this thing. We send this out to the soldier every year to review it. That soldier know what he's looking at?
No.
No, we're gonna have to help. Every year you're gonna have help. Okay. And then this is a summary statement of your points towards retirement. You should review all entries, blah, 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 blah. Okay. Then it gives us a compiled list, which kind of tells us the story once we look at it. Like we were talking this morning about retirement years and when they pick up, when they don't. And once it's established, it don't change unless breaking service or ING. Well, this sample history we've got here starts out on the 9th of August of 1960, and it goes through the 8th of August 61. MMSI, that next column, what's that? Military Membership Status Identifier. And you have a table in NGR 680-2, spells that thing out. It's about table 2-8. It's kind of neat. Not 2-8. Page 2-8, more like it. Okay, it looks like this. Every possible service is identified with a code, a letter and a number. Now, we talked about earning retirement points in control groups for membership. Look over the next table, 2-2, lines up those identifiers and what type of points, if any, can be earned while you're in that status. Okay? Kind of neat. So status A1, that's what this soldier started out in. United States Army regular service. Remember, we didn't need a retirement year because they earned points every day. So they just go 1 year and then the next year and so on. Now we got columns for the different types of points. IDT points, didn't earn any, he wasn't in the IDT. Didn't get any membership points because he was in the regular Army. Okay? Miscellaneous, that's Army correspondence course and miscellaneous points fall over in there. The IDT points include drill, RMAs, ATAs, AFTPs, that sort of thing falls under your drill points. And all these other miscellaneous inactive duty type points fall in this column right over here.
Chief,
Yes.
you saying RMAs fall under the IDT part?
IDT.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so for the active duty, it's strictly ADSW.
Active duty points over here is strictly that. It's under, well, active duty, ADSW, ADT, initial active duty for training, IADT, or also one that we can use, and most states, some will approve it, some won't. ADSW without pay, for retirement point only. You get in that status, it takes an order to put you on and a certificate of verification to get you another active duty retirement point for that duty. But this is strictly active duty type points. Code 503, 4, and 5 points. All the rest of them under 502, all over here for IDT and miscellaneous. It's those two, or those three columns there, the total will not exceed 60 that you can use. Okay? Now, we saw this soldier's there 365 days, got 365 points, it was verified. Career points, 365. Total for pay, 365. 1 year. Qualifies for retirement. Towards retirement. Okay, look what happened to him next year. Started off the next day, but 18 July. He come off of active duty. Only had 344 days. We got 344 points. That added in the career points column. It counted for the retired pay, but look how much credit he got. He didn't get a full year's credit there. We got 11 months and 10 days. No credit. See, this is one of those cases that can screw a guy up on the end. Then what'd he do? Went to D1. What's that? Reserve component, USAR Troop Program Unit, isn't it?
Yep.
Troop Program Unit. He went to a reserve unit to attend drills. Now, what happened from our retirement year class? Now he picks up a retirement year, doesn't he?
Yep.
Well, that's the first reserve component service. So now we've got a new period that we're working with. Started 19 July through 18 July. Okay, only had 33 drill points, got 15 membership. He didn't go to an AT that year, so he got 0 there. How many points did he earn? 48. Yeah, he can use all 48, but how much credit did he get for retirement? Zip. Didn't do enough in that year for it to qualify. If he'd have worked 6 hours of correspondence courses, or even 5 hours, that would have made a good year. One less than 2 people earned 2 points. 2 lousy points would have caused him to go another full year. So that's what I'm talking about, kind of take a look at our soldiers. If somebody's injured, can't attend drill, good troop, and we see they're going to come shy of it, and work some extension courses or do something to make that year qualify. Okay, let's go on down, and of course it runs in that year, 19 July, 18 July, all the way on down till something else happens. Now, write down which one I want to look at. Let's look at this year right here. In that year, he earned 50 drill points, so he went 2 extra training assemblies of some type. Got his 15 membership, went to an AT, we earned a total of 81 points. That's career side, that's what you actually earn. What can he use for retirement? 76 of them. Now, does everybody see why? Okay, looky right over here. 50, 15 is 65. In active duty type points, you can only use 60 of them. So that's where the 5 points disappeared to. You can only use 60 over here. But he could use all of these right here that he can earn up to the total of 365 over here. Okay, so you see how this works? Now we go on down, something else happened right here. Page 3. There's no points across there, it doesn't count for anything. That was a civilian break, right? Page 3, civilian break. And then what did he do? Join the National Guard. Had a civilian break. So now what happened? New retirement year. Forget everything about it. See, it's still on the record there. But as far as the retirement year, it's history. Now the retirement year is going to run 10 October to 9 October. So maybe something else changes. Okay, these are lined up in that area for every year, and sometimes it'll take 2 or 3 line entries for 1 year if there is some type of change of status of the soldier. For example, goes from enlisted officer, they'll cut it off, start the new one, and it'll still end on that retirement year. Or they did a number like that when they changed the from NGB 23 to the RPAS, caused 2 line entry for 1 year. So that can happen. And when it does, the membership points will all show up on one line, and these totals over here will all show up on one line. And the other line will be 0. And then you'll get the full year on the second line or whatever it adds up to.
Like the bottom 2 lines down?
Like the bottom, yeah, right here. Okay, something happened here on the 31st of March, 87, 1st of April. In fact, that's when RPAS went in, as I recall. About then. You had 173 points up here. You also had 47 here, plus drill membership was all added in for 263. Okay, then the very bottom, the total, these 3 columns, the active duty points, career points, and retirement points that you can use in creditable service. Total all 4 of those. Now, once you check one of these things out completely, probably the only place you're going to have a problem is that very last year on the next one. Because the next one is the only manipulation that's done in the system. And once it's checked out up to that point, you can just lay them side by side and run down in a hurry, double check, because I won't say it can't happen, because anything can happen, no matter what they tell you. But check it out, and be especially careful with the